Hello again. Today's video I want to share with you how I made this card, and it's got really quite interesting embossing. It's got at least two different kinds of embossing on there. On the actual panel itself, we've got a dry embossed backdrop here, heat embossed image, over embossed with a dry embossing folder. So lots of fun, actually. Lots of fun indeed. And what I used for this was some pearl embossing powders. And pearl embossing powders are kind of strange things, really. This is a red one. It looks white. I embossed this little stamp onto this piece of white card with this red pearl embossing powder, and that's how it came out. So if you want it to be red, it has to be embossed onto a dark background, either dark card or put some dark colour down first. So I'll just put that out of the way. That was just to show you that's red pearl embossing powder on white card, but you'll see the effect later on. Okay, so the first thing I did was to get a piece of, this is brown, I don't know where that water came from, but brown card. It's probably about 250 GSMs, I would think. In my stamping platform here, I have got Impression Obsessions Rose Leaves background stamp. So I'm going to put my piece of brown card into my stamping platform. This is a Vasen one. I'm going to give it a bit of a rub over with my embossing bag to get rid of any finger marks or anything else, and I'm going to ink it up with Versamark liberally. And the joy of doing it in my stamping platform, it is always difficult to see where you've stamped with Versamark, but it's slightly easier to see on dark card than it is on pale card. So let's give this a stamp. Right, let's have a look. No, I think I need to do some more. It doesn't look quite covered enough. I might have to stand up and give it a bit of welly, actually, because it's quite hard. I'll try again. Stand up this time. Oh dear. Right, let's have a look at that one. I think that looks better. I think that looks better. Okay, take that out carefully. Move this out of my way. Now, I have a piece of paper to catch the bits on. And first of all, I'm going to use some of this red. And I'm just going to sprinkle it in odd places. That's probably enough. And I'm going to get rid of the rest. Okay, see that much? Right, I'm just going to pop this back in this pot. Right. Now, the rest of it I'm going to cover with this. This is copper pearl, and it does actually look a bit more like copper, doesn't it? But I'm going to put this over the rest. There's a bit over there I haven't managed to grab. I think that looks kind of okay. Yeah, I think we're all right. Okay, just going to put this back into the pot. It's going to be slightly adulterated by the fact that some of the red may be mixing in with it from dusting off there, but I think it's kind of a complementary kind of colour, and it will blend in over time. Now I'm going to use my heat tool on this, so mind the noise, sorry about this. Now, I'm sorry that took so long, but isn't that pretty? You could have put more, I could have put more of the red and less of the copper, or vice versa, but the mix of the colours I think is absolutely lovely. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to emboss the whole thing with this music manuscript embossing folder. It's from Couture, how do you say it? Couture Creations? Couture? Yeah. Couture Creations, and it's called Adagio. Okay, now this won't fit through my die cutting machine, so I'm going to have to cut a bit off. I can hear a grandson around. Right, just cut this down a bit so it'll fit through my machine. Now, somebody said to me today, or yesterday even, that with a Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine, they couldn't fit embossing folders through it. You're supposed to use the base plate and this blue plate, and they said that the sandwich was just too fat. If you can't get these through your machine, you'd need to use one of your cutting plates and just build up the sandwich with a few sheets of card or something until you can just feel enough resistance to ensure that the embossing folder is actually doing its job and embossing. So let's try and put this one through. This should go through, I think. It's tough, but it just goes through. There we go. So now I have got a raised surface on there as well, but it doesn't show up incredibly well. So what I propose to do first of all is to cut a square like I did with this one here. I don't know if you can see the difference between those two. I'm going to cut a square, and then I'm going to highlight the relief. So here's my trimmer. I'm going to cut a square that is about 5 centimetres wide. I'm going to just do it a bit larger to start with, and I always push towards the guide so that I can keep it straight, and just cut anywhere here for now. Right, now we'll try for our 5, and 5. There we go. So there's my little square. To show this relief, I've got this stuff by Viva, and it's called Rusty Patina. Strange stuff. It's almost gritty. I've had this for ages, and it kind of separates a bit, but look at it. It's quite gloopy. So a little bit of this, and I always tend to do this on my mat first, just in case it's too much. And with your finger fairly flat, just go over and highlight the relief on here. It's really pretty. It does liven it up considerably, actually. There we go. Now you can see the colours of the red, the copper, and some of this highlighted rusty patina. I used a treble clef for the embellishment on the top, and I cut one from a piece of the basic brown that I made the panel from. I cut a couple more in white, stacked underneath. If you look at from the side, you can probably see those. There's some layers underneath, so there's about 3 or 4 layers there. And I added some more of this rusty patina on the top of the die cut. Now, I think the thing that sets the whole thing off is the embossing on the back. This embossing folder is by Charlie and Paulchen, German company, and it's just got lots of little hearts in the shape of a heart. When I tried to get this through my spellbinder machine with the blue plate, I couldn't do it. It was just too fat. So this is where I think those people who may have got a platinum may find it a bit of help. So here's a piece of cut. Well, that's not really big enough. Have I got a piece that's big enough? Doesn't matter. For now it'll do the job, just to see. I'm going to try and get this through my machine. I'll bring it in just a little bit. Try and bring it in. And once I start to, I just can't do it. It will either break the machine, break the folder or something. So what I'm going to have to do is to build up the layers a bit to try and get the right thickness. So let's put one shim on that, and I'm going to use a thinner plate just to see if this is going to be enough. And that's not enough, it's just going through, and I can feel no resistance whatsoever, so I need something more. Here I've got a piece of magnetic sheet. Let's put that in, see how we're going on with that. It's better. I can feel a little resistance. I've got a very thin shim here. You could do this with just pieces of card, in fact. And that feels as if there's enough resistance to have made an impression. So let's take it out and have a look. And there you can see it has embossed beautifully. So fear not, if you can't get your embossing folder through with the embossing plate on a platinum, use one of the thinner ones plus the base plate, and then use layers of card, one piece at a time, just to build up the sandwich and try and make it fat enough so that the embossing will actually take place. Okay, that was by the by really, but I just thought it might be kind of useful. So to make this little one stand out, I used a double-sided, a double stitch should I say, die, which is just slightly larger, so that a small border will fit around the edge. So stuck that onto my die cut, put it onto my back plate, my back embossing, which would have been a square one of those, and onto the card. This is flat to the card. This one has got some foam tape underneath just to give that little bit of focus. This one The fact that it's on the card at the front flat, A, gives it a frame, very subliminal in fact, but B, it means that there isn't any embossing showing through on the inside of the card. If I'd done it straight onto the front panel, it would have shown through on the inside, and that wouldn't look quite so good. So there, I hope there's been a few points that have kind of helped. I didn't want to go through every single stage because it gets kind of tedious. But pearl embossing powders on dark base, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's inked or actually a dark coloured piece of card, with additional embossing over the top, just to give it a bit of interest. There you go. And as ever more, thank you so much for watching.